That's wonderful.
So, well, hey, it's great to meet you. I'm looking forward to getting into your life as a relationship coach. So, thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Of course. I'm looking forward to this.
Me too. So, let's begin our journey here by dealing with one of the biggest events of our lifetime, probably, which was this pandemic. And 4 years ago, it was raging. We didn't know how we were going to get out of it, all the ramifications. So, ultimately, how did you survive that time period, and how did it change the way that you approach things now?
Wow. How did I survive the pandemic? With great difficulty, actually. Uh I actually had I lost a partner during that time, not COVID related, but so it was very much a time of okay, we're doing okay, we're surviving, we're even keel, and then suddenly we really weren't. And that was just as the vaccines were starting to come out, so things were starting to open up. Um, I found that in the pandemic, I really benefited from every little scrap of human contact I could get.
Yeah.
God bless video conferencing for being able to pull us all together like that. I had a lot of friends that I reconnected with because we were all so starved for contact. Um, I would People would like drop off food on our porch sometimes. We would, do like dinner exchanges and whatnot. And we'd stick our heads out the window and just yell down to them. Um, and I really found that it gave me a deep appreciation for the people that I have in this moment. Um, and I think that it also it made, I mean, I think it made a lot of people realize that life is short and nothing can be taken for granted. So that's actually when I started getting really discontented with my previous job as a behavior analyst.
Yeah.
It didn't align at all with my personal ethical moral values. And that's when I started to think about pivoting into something else. And it turns out coaching is something I'm really good at.
Well, that's the thing. Sometimes it takes a while to find your calling, and you had to experience that to know that there was something else that was more on your radar to do with your life.
Exactly, exactly. And it's it's interesting because I sort of in college, I realized that my calling was in a lot of ways neurodivergence and working with people with neurodivergence. And it just so happened that at that time, one of the only like known ways to do that was through behavior analysis.
Yeah.
And now I can do that via coaching as well, which is just such a much more freeing and, in my mind, ethically aligned modality.
So let's get into exactly what you do on a daily basis. And to do that, let me put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids at career day, third graders, and one of the kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" What's your answer?
My really short answer, my third grade answer is I listen to people.
Yeah.
People come to me with people come to me with negative feelings. They don't feel good about themselves or their situations, and I listen to them, and then I ask them questions. And sometimes when I ask them questions, they realize that they know the answer. They know what they need to do next. And so I support them in doing that.
Isn't it amazing that all of the things that we're taught in our lives and education, the most important things are never really taught, like money, relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like that, I mean, it's a miracle that we've procreated this long for as absolutely ignorant as we are of each other's needs and all of those things, because it requires work. It requires looking within. It requires a lot of like an entrepreneur. It requires a lot of failure to get to a point where you figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, failure tolerance is something that is not explicitly taught. And honestly, most people pick it up relatively naturally. I'm one of the people who didn't. My brain clicks with academic things. So for a long time, I didn't know how to study because my brain just took in the information. I had to actively learn how to study, how to tolerate getting the wrong answer on something.
Yeah. So, what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream?
Oh, I wanted to be on Broadway. I wanted to be on Broadway. That was a dream that kept me through a lot of high school too, actually. I wanted to be eventually I wanted to be a voice actor for
Okay.
dubbed anime because I was a nerd.
That
What am
so let's get to the point. Let's kind of go back and figure out how we got to this point. Take me back to where you were born and raised, and what were the foundational seeds that had you become a coach, but work with the neurodivergent and to get away from the Broadway? How did all of this evolve into who you are?
the biggest the biggest broadest umbrella overview I can give is I was born a very weird child. From the get-go, I liked listening to Broadway music. I don't think I actually listened to pop music like intentionally until I got my first car and could listen on the radio. Um, I was reading at like 3. Um, and when I was 7, my dad passed away, and my mom decided to pivot from physical therapy into coaching. And she actually did both business coaching and widow coaching because she was a widow and she had her MBA. Um, and I guess that's when the seed got planted, like, oh, this is a job. This is a valid career that does support and can help people. Um, but I never thought that I had it in me in a way. I was too, I don't want to say I was too sensitive as a child. I was just incredibly sensitive as a child. So I thought, oh, listening to people's problems, how could I ever do? I would start crying before they would. And then I grew up. I grew a thicker skin, one might say. I went from just listening to Broadway to doing community theater to watching anime and um realizing, your worldview opens up at that point. You realize that everything around you is a potential job that someone had to do at some point. Um, I hit college and I learned about autism specifically in my child language acquisition class. And it blew my mind because I recognized myself in a bunch of these diagnostic criteria. Now, as an adult, I got formally diagnosed with ADHD. And there's so much overlap between those two that it's not really important to me where that deep recognition came from, only that it was there.
Yeah.
So I Googled, how does one work with people with autism? Behavior analysis popped up. So I got my master's in behavior analysis. The behavior analysis master's program taught me here is a set of principles designed to help you understand behavior, understand why someone is doing something. I got into the broader world, and instead, people were using those principles to make autistic people behave in neurotypical ways. That's completely out of line with what I believe is right, essentially. And so I very quickly, once I was in the thick of things, fell out of love with the field and got really just depressed and discontented. And so finally, my mom said, when I was thinking, what can I do? I have my master's in this. How could I possibly change careers at the stage? She said, you could coach. You could be a coach. You'd probably be good at it. That's ridiculous, but I'll take a look. And so I tried the first course of the certification program that she did way back in the day. that was it was game over for me. I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm meant to do.
So the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, I guess, right?
It really doesn't, in a lot of very fortunate and very unfortunate
Right.
ways.
That's the weird thing about nature, nurture, and all of those things. I get it.
Mhm.
Um, so explain a little bit what you're talking about with them wanting to make my son's on the spectrum, and I'm trying to understand what you're talking about with that. So they're trying to enforce kind of these regulations that are making them to kind of explain a little bit what you're talking about, what you noticed.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say my a lot of the criticism of the field
Yeah,
comes from autistic people who say that um practitioners are trying to cut down on stimming, which is a totally like neutral activity that just it helps a lot of autistic people. They stim when they're happy, they stim when they're upset,
sure.
they stim to self-regulate essentially.
Yeah,
And that cutting down on that behavior limits their capacity to self-regulate.
gotcha.
And and I agree with this take. And we were taught in my master's program, in my ethics courses, that you don't address a behavior unless it's a harmful behavior.
Right.
And so in my mind, I was saying, well, these people were clearly just victims of bad practice. This is not indicative of the field as a whole.
Yeah,
And then I actually got and especially in Pennsylvania, I don't know how it is where you're at. In Pennsylvania, it's the Wild West. Every practitioner is on their own. So practitioners are enforcing their own neurotypical societal biases on their clients
gotcha.
without actually examining, why am I doing this? I had a parent say to me, "Oh, my kid, a 4-year-old, my kid is taking his stuffed animal and pressing it against his mouth." Like, okay, is he eating it? Is he eating the thread? Like, what's the issue here? Like, no, he's pressing it, and I don't want him stigmatized for that behavior. Like, okay, unfortunately, you are already stigmatizing him for that behavior.
Yeah,
He's four. Maybe he likes the sensation, maybe it helps him calm down.
yeah.
I don't know why he's doing it, but he should be allowed to continue doing it.
Of course. I get exactly what you're saying. I get exactly what you're saying. There's levels of things that are going to happen that are absolutely non-detrimental, that is only, and it's just a byproduct of who they are, and it shouldn't be something that should be ill dissuaded because of that. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And like, the principles of behavior analysis are neutral on their own. Reinforcement, like reinforcement is just a description of how behavior works. But when you start applying them without any comprehension of why you're doing what you're doing, when you're just sort of saying, oh, this is weird, you should stop it, and I
right.
have the tools to manipulate the environment to make you stop it, that's just wrong,
I
in
get,
my personal opinion.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree. And I totally, yeah, I see exactly where you're coming from. And, the numbers have gone up so high, they're going to have to come up with some ways of modifying how it happens. But thankfully, there's parents out there that are willing. I mean, I think from what I've seen in this community are willing to fight and do what's right, no matter what's going to be taught on the outside.
I've worked with some truly wonderful parents.
Yeah.
Like for every parent who's like, make them stop doing the weird thing, there's another parent that's like, if you even think about making them stop doing the weird thing,
Yep.
I will fire you.
Yeah.
And I love those parents.
Yeah. 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 We need it. We need the balance for sure. So, who's been a hero for you in your life? Who's been an inspiration?
Oh my gosh. Um, it is trite to say my mother. Um, but truly our relationship has grown and evolved such that I have through her, a deep understanding of the generational trauma that my family has endured from, from the singular, the abusive parents that my grandmama had, to my family was Dutch and lived in the Netherlands during World War II.
Wow.
So my grandfather was in the resistance. My grandmama smuggled anti-Nazi propaganda um, on a bike with crappy tires. And through her, I have been able to contextualize not only the pain that has been suffered, but the work that each individual person has put into healing that pain. So
Yeah.
my mother and my grandfather were really big figures in my life. And watching their evolution as I grew up, as became able to view them as whole people, made me just it I like I cannot communicate the depth of respect and affection I feel for both of them
Yeah.
when I think about the progress that they have made as humans.
Yeah. So if you could meet one person alive on the planet right now that you find fascinating, spend some time with them, who would it be?
One person alive, clarification.
Well, we could open the door to ghosts. We can go either way.
I'll stick with okay, so alive, I would want to sit down with um the current Democratic nominees to see if I could have any effect on the policy that will be shaped, hopefully in the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Um, but oh my gosh, dead is like if we're opening the door to ghosts, I don't even like my mind is swirling with all of these
Sure.
historical
There's a
figures.
lot.
I would want to talk to ah I mean, okay, I'll go trite again. I would want to talk to my dad.
Yeah.
I would want to get some like family history. I would want to get uh some more context for his life and how he felt about it. And because again, he passed when I was 7, so I didn't get to fully understand him as an adult besides through what my mom can tell me, and she's one person, one perspective.
Yeah. That's interesting. I always like that answer when it goes back into like an ancestral kind of notion. It's cool. So what is it that motivates you every day to get up to do the work that you do? Because being a coach means you have to give a lot of yourself, but you also have to hold back to evolve as a human being yourself. What is that collective energy for you every day, that motivation that helps you do what you do and become who you are?
The motivation is half other people. It's half my partners that I get to that I get to be in relation with. It's half my family, my friends, and it's half the joy that I can derive through doing my work and through my life outside my work. I get up in the morning and I immediately do the New York Times connections and strands while I'm brushing my teeth. I send it to my mom. I go downstairs. I sit on the couch. I play guitar for 15 minutes. This is clockwork. I haven't missed a day of guitar in I think the app said I'm on like 15 weeks or something. Um and taking that time for myself, not having to roll out of bed and straight into the car to commute in the mornings, it really helps center and remind me why I do the things that I do. And the why changes every day depending on what I need it to be. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't have any clients today. It's all marketing. I'm not a marketing person. The Venn diagram of coaching skills and marketing skills does not overlap all that much.
Yeah.
Um, but I'll wake up and I'll go, you know what? Maybe I'll get to write something really cool today and
Yeah.
put that in my marketing.
Yeah. So, of everything that you've done and accomplished up to this point and become, what are you the proudest of?
I think I'm the proudest of quitting behavior analysis, not even becoming a coach, but stepping away from something that I really I don't do moderation. I 110% percent commit to whatever I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I 110% committed to behavior analysis, and then I cut it off. Um, and I think I'm proud of myself for taking a it it sounds a little ridiculous, but taking that moral stand for myself, recognizing that this does not align with who I am as a person and stepping away.
Yeah. So, if you had a dream tonight, you ran into the 17-year-old version of you, and you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on the life you've lived, the wisdom you've gained along the way, what advice would you impart on that young version?
Oh, you are so much more loved than you could possibly know. I think this goes for everyone on the planet, but I know that 17-year-old me really needed to hear it. People love and appreciate and value your company. And just as much as you love and appreciate and value those around you, you need to give the same empathy to yourself that you give to others.
So, what's the best thing about living in Pittsburgh?
Ah, the people, the I have built such an incredible community. And I mean, I say that like I did it single-handedly, but I have found, okay, I'll say I've found such an incredible community. And I've sort of pieced it together bit by bit with all of my partners and their partners and our families and um like my boyfriend's wife is pregnant with twins and I'm going to be the godmother and my ex is going to be the godfather. And it's such a weird and beautiful picture of life. I can't imagine life without it.
So, at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, everyone around you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I First word that comes to mind is bizarre, um, which I think is influenced a little bit by external perception. I think I I think of myself as just another human trying to do their best. And it's not really up to me how my best is perceived. It's not really up to me what people take from what I have to give. I think I have a lot to give. I also know that I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And I have decided to embrace that. Um, I think that if if drinking me as a cup of tea is going to poison you, please stay away. If drinking me as a cup of tea is going to revitalize you, if I'm full of caffeine, great, let's hang out. Um, but I'm just me, and it's up to everyone else to decide if me is someone that they want in their lives.
So, you seem adventurous enough for this question here. We get off the call, time machine pulls up in front of your house. You can go anywhere in the history of time and see one event. You won't affect it. You won't send a tear in time or a ripple, but you can just see it. What do you want to see with your own eyes? It's too much. It's like the beginning of Big Bang, the show, when everything starts flying at you.
Yeah, it's interesting because the Big Bang was actually the first thing that occurred, but I feel like that wouldn't even be perceptible. Um, I might want to see the first. I might want to see the first fish that walked up on land.
Yeah, good answer.
Like, because, and that feels a little bit like cheating to me because it means I'd get to see exactly where it was, as well as the all of the any plants around, I'd get just like that once in a lifetime snapshot of where we came from.
Yeah, that's great. That's absolutely great. So if anyone out there wants to hire you, learn more about you, reach out, any of the good business, where do they go?
Okay. So my Instagram is all for love coaching. My website is allforlovecoaching.com. And honestly, those are the really big two places.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. This has been great. Thank you so much for your story. Thank you for your time. Keep doing the great work out there.
Thank you for having me. This has been
Yeah,
wonderful.
absolutely. It has. How do you